Breaking news, Brian Flores, former Dolphins head coach, filing a class action lawsuit against the National Football League citing racial discrimination. The suit alleging that the league's hiring practices have left it, quote, racially segregated and managed much like a plantation, end quote. The suit filed today in federal court in Manhattan. It names not only the Dolphins, but the Broncos and Giants as well. These are some of the claims in the lawsuit, some of the allegations involving Brian Flores and trying to find a head coaching job. One of the claims is that there was a text from Bill Belichick thinking that he was Brian Dable. And then what we see highlighted down at the bottom, which might be unprecedented, he's alleging that Dolphins owner Stephen Ross was offering him $100,000 per loss as the Dolphins were looking to, I guess, quote unquote, tank in 2019 if those allegations are true. Let's get former Marlins president David Samson in here to look at this from a front office perspective. David, put yourself in the shoes of those running those three teams mentioned here right now, the Dolphins, Broncos, and Giants. What's going on there right now?
I'm greatly concerned because now it's coming to light all of the dirty little secrets that we all hold very close to the vest when we run teams. As president of a team for 18 years, we all conduct interviews when we are looking for managers or coaches so as not to violate what in baseball is called the Selig rule and what in football is called the Rooney rule. It is clear to everybody involved that there are these sham interviews, but it was never spoken about publicly. Brian Flores made a decision that to me is historic. And the reason it's historic is that when you will look back on this in 10 years or 20 years or 30 years, you will look at Brian Flores as the person who had the courage to bring to light that which was in the dark at his own personal cost. Remember, his protection is only the last 2 years of the deal that the Dolphins have with him because he got fired this year. So he knows his career in the NFL is done. And he recognizes that he wants to do something, as he said, for generations to come. Some of the other things contained in this class action lawsuit are unbelievable to read and to think about, but the core of the suit is about racial discrimination, not about tanking for Tua or any sort of tampering.
We had Jonathan Jones on, our senior NFL writer, a little while ago, and he said he was going to take off his reporter hat for a second and talk just as a black man. And he believes that Brian Flores is not going to get another job in the NFL because of this. You didn't work in the NFL, but working in Major League Baseball and knowing the sports world, do you think that could be a possibility as well?
No, I don't think it's a possibility. I think it's a guarantee. I think Brian Flores was very clear when he filed this lawsuit. His lawyer spoke to him. He spoke to his family, and he made a decision to go forward with this and to be the face of this lawsuit, and that will cost him the rest of his career. There is not one NFL team, there's not one MLB team who would ever hire someone who brings a lawsuit. It's not just against the Dolphins and the Giants and the Broncos. It's against all 32 teams. And it's a class action suit, which means there's a class of black candidates for general manager, coaching positions, coordinator positions, and he wants to have all of them join together and get injunctive relief, get money, get acknowledgement by the NFL that they have practiced racial discrimination, not just for a year or 2 years, but we're talking about for decades. How do you put a number on that? That remains to be seen. But what we do know is that Brian Flores' history is not as an NFL coach now. It is as the face of this lawsuit against the NFL.
You tweeted right after you saw this news come out, and I don't have the exact tweet in front of me, but you suggested that maybe this is going to change things for particular franchises in the future. How might that happen?
So now we talk about things that are contained in the lawsuit but actually aren't part of racial discrimination. Talk about what Steve Ross is alleged to have done. So let's play this out. He goes to his head coach and says, we want a higher draft pick. We are, quote unquote, tanking for Tua. In order to do that, we don't want to win games. But I'm going to incentivize you because it goes against all of your competitive inside juices. So I'll give you an extra $100,000 to tank. If it is proven that that in fact happened, God forbid, can you imagine, Chris, if there's an actual payment trail of an extra $100,000 for a loss that did occur during that season? It would not shock me at all if Roger Goodell had to find a fall franchise, a fall guy, and force a sale. And I don't say that without understanding the significance of what I'm saying. To force an owner to sell is the absolute last thing a commissioner wants to do, and it's the last thing that other owners want to do, because they say to themselves, first it's him, next it could be me. But in this case, it is such an inflammatory subject. Forget the racial discrimination, which of course is the most inflammatory. But when you are telling your fans that the competitive integrity of your game has been put into question by an owner who's willing to pay to lose, you have got to stop that immediately.
David, does that happen? Do you know of that happening in professional sports? Owners paying, whether it's a president, a general manager, a coach, to lose games?
I've been very clear with managers when there were opportunities to win a game or to lose a game. Never, just because that's me, I would never pay a manager to do that. The manager has to do his job. When we tell the manager who to play, when to hit players, what to do during the course of a game, we expect the manager to do that. When the manager doesn't do that, that manager gets fired. I understand if Brian Flores was told to lose games and then he did not coach to lose, that is, and it's okay for me to say it, don't misinterpret it, that's insubordination. When you are told by your boss, your owner, what to do and you don't do it, that is grounds for termination. And I'm not saying it's right, but I'm saying that's reality. So Brian Flores, after that moment, he became a persona non gratis. I think I just mixed a metaphor. He became someone in the Dolphins organization that was known as someone who would not play team football, would not go with what he was told to do. And you saw the minute he was fired, you saw the Dolphins PR machine go into full action in order to discredit Brian Flores. Now, the Dolphins have to respond, but they're being smart. The Giants responded very quickly to this with a very hastily written statement that denies the possibility of Bill Belichick's text exchange with Brian Flores or Brian Daboll, whoever Belichick thought it was, allegedly. The reason the Dolphins are waiting to release a statement is they've got to speak with lawyers, and they've got to make sure that what they say will not be used against them during the course of this litigation.
All right, great insight. David Samson, former Marlins president here, as Brian Flores files a class action lawsuit against the NFL citing racial discrimination. David can be heard on the widely successful and listened to podcast, Nothing Personal with David Samson. Download and follow wherever you get your audio.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.